Okay, so if you've ever thought about becoming an Irish citizen, you've probably realized the process can feel, well, a little bit tangled. So today, we're going to cut right through all that confusion. I'm going to give you a really clear step-by-step guide to the different ways you can do it. So, why do so many people have this dream of holding an Irish passport? It's really more than just a connection to the Emerald Isle. It genuinely opens up a world of opportunities. All right, let's talk about the benefits, because there's a really unique combination here. Of course, you get full rights across the entire European Union. But here's the kicker, the really powerful part. Irish citizens also get to live and work in the United Kingdom. That's a combination that, honestly, very few other nationalities can offer. To keep things simple, we've broken it all down into these key sections. We'll start with finding your path, then we'll look at ancestry versus residence, and finally, we'll walk through the actual application journey. Okay, let's dive right in. So, the very first step on this whole journey is just figuring out which of the main routes to citizenship is the one for you. It all comes down to your connection to Ireland. It pretty much boils down to two main roads you can take. On one side, you've got citizenship by descent, which is all about your family tree, your provable lineage. On the other side, there's naturalization, and that's based entirely on the time you've legally lived in Ireland. Your whole journey really starts by figuring out which of those two buckets you fall into. Let's start with that first path, ancestry. We'll see how this works for people who have Irish roots. If you qualify, this is often the most direct route. So the crucial thing here is how direct your family line is. If one of your parents was an Irish citizen when you were born, you're pretty much entitled to citizenship automatically. Now, if you qualify through a grandparent who was born in Ireland, the process is a little different. You'll need to get your birth onto something called the Foreign Births Register before you can claim your citizenship. Now, while this path is usually faster than naturalization, everything, and I mean everything, hinges on you being able to find the right historical documents. We're talking birth certificates, marriage certificates, all that stuff. It can be a real deep dive into your family history, which is cool, but it can also be a big challenge. So, what if you don't have that direct Irish ancestry? No problem. Let's explore the second major path, which is all based on your time actually living in Ireland. This is called citizenship by naturalization. Okay, before we go any further, we have to nail down this key term, reckonable residence. This is the absolute foundation of the naturalization process. It's not just about being in Ireland. It's about being here with the correct immigration permission. And trust me, not all the time you spend in the country is going to count. This timeline here shows you the core requirement. It looks a little complex, but basically, you need to prove you have 5 years of this reckonable residence within the last 9 years. And here's the most important part. That final year, right before you apply, has to be continuous. No breaks. So what kind of residence actually counts? This is where the type of stamp in your passport becomes so important. These stamps are just codes that say why you're allowed to be in the country, for work, for study, and so on. As a general rule, time on a work permit, like a Stamp 1, counts. But time as a student on a Stamp 2 visa, that does not count. So understanding your own stamp history is the most important first step here. Now, there is an important exception to that 5-year rule, and it can speed things up quite a bit. This applies if you're married to or in a civil partnership with an Irish citizen. For spouses and partners who are eligible, that residency requirement gets cut down from 5 years to just 3. You still need that one continuous year right before you apply, and you have to prove you've been married and living together for at least 3 years. But it's a much, much faster route to citizenship. So whether you're going through your grandparents or through your years of living in Ireland, the final application journey has some common steps and, yep, some common costs. The first cost you're going to hit on the naturalization path is the application fee of €175. You pay this right up front when you submit your paperwork. And it's really important to know that this fee is non-refundable. It doesn't matter if you're successful or not, it just covers the admin work. Now, let's say your application is approved. Congratulations! You'll then be asked to pay the certification fee, which is a much bigger €950 for an adult. This is the final and most significant cost. Paying this is what lets the government issue your official certificate of naturalization, which is the legal document that makes you a citizen. And one last thing. For those on the ancestry path, there's another fee. If you're qualifying through a grandparent, you first have to get on the Foreign Births Register. That process has its own fee of €278. This is a critical step that you have to do before you can even think about applying for your first Irish passport. All the bureaucracy can feel a little intimidating, but when you really boil it all down, it comes to these 4 key stages. You find the right form, you gather all your proof, you make a legally witnessed declaration that everything is true, and then you send it all off. Once your application is approved and all the fees are paid, the final step is attending a citizenship ceremony. This is where you'll join hundreds of other new citizens to make a public declaration of fidelity to the nation and loyalty to the state. It's the official end to your journey. And here is a huge point that is a massive relief for so many people. Ireland allows dual citizenship. What that means is that in almost every case, you will not be asked to give up your original nationality to become Irish. You can hold both passports. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the journey to Irish citizenship is definitely detailed, for sure. But it's not some big mystery. It's a clear process that all starts with a single point of connection, either through your family's past or your own personal history in Ireland. So the only real question left is, which path is yours?